Fraction number lines. Your learning target today is I can name a given point on a fraction number line. And you'll know you're successful when you can identify a point on a fraction number line by giving the correct numerator and denominator. We have another day of working with fraction number lines, so let's get started. Remember, when I make a fraction number line, I am starting it with 0 and ending it with 1. That is because we are working with fractions right now that are less than 1, okay, smaller. So that is why it goes from 0 to 1, and it doesn't go from 0 to another number because all these fractions are less than 1, okay? So let's get started. So we have this fraction number line, and I'm going to make it with this amount of tick marks, okay? So with this amount of tick marks, how many total would that be? Do I count 0? No, I do not count 0. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 tick marks total. So when I make a fraction, does that 8 go on the top? Is it my numerator? Or is it on the bottom? Is it my denominator? Well, since 8 is my total, it always goes on the bottom of my fraction, okay? So that's an 8 on the bottom, which means that's my denominator. And then my top number we know is that number of tick marks that I'm at, okay? So what do I mean by that? By doing something like this and asking you what would be the fraction of that given point. That would be the what tick mark? The first? No, this would be the first one. Is it the second? Nope, that's the second. Is it the third? Absolutely. I started to mark the wrong one, but yes, it's this one, the third one. So that means that's my numerator, 3. And then again, what's my denominator? It's going to stay the same throughout this whole fraction number line because 8 is my total, so it's 8. So that point right here that I have in pink and purple now is 3/8. Nice job. So let's see if I marked this point. Now the next point in purple, and I'm going to also have it be in green, would be what fraction? So again, my denominator is what? It's an 8. Thank you, because that's the total number of tick marks. Remember, that does not change if I'm working with the same number line. And then what fraction would that be? Well, since I already figured this one out right here, that was 3/8, then I know the next one is 4/8, 5/8. Oh, that one is 6/8. So that would be our fraction for that given point. Let's try some more. All right, so I have 3 problems that I want you to try on your own. The first 2 are kind of like what we've been doing, right? I want you to tell me the given fraction on that number line. So that means find where that dot is and tell me what fraction that would be on the first one and on the second one. And then for the last problem, I want you to make and label a fraction number line that would have 1/4 on it. Okay, so you'll be responsible for creating that number line with the right number of tick marks and with the right numbers on the beginning and the ends, and I want you to label where 1/4 would go with a dot and with the fraction, okay? Please remember the dot and fraction when you're labeling that fraction number line because that's how we would label that correctly, okay? So please do that right now. Resume the video when you're ready to check your answer. All right, by now you should have figured that out, and you're resuming the video because you figured that out on your own, all 3 problems. Okay, so for this first one, I noticed that there were 2 tick marks total, and this is the first tick mark, so that is 1/2. You might have even noticed that that was right in the middle of the fraction number line. You were right with observing that, but the actual fraction is 1/2 because not only is it halfway, but because of those 2 tick marks total. And that's the first tick mark. So 1 out of 2, 1/2. All right, for the next number line, I noticed the dot was at the very end of that number line, which means it's the same as 1 whole. So how many tick marks total did we have? Well, this one I had to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our denominator should be 5. And remember, this was the last tick mark, so of course that's the fifth one. So that fraction is 5 out of 5, or 5/5, and that's the same as saying 1 whole. I needed a fraction, so please make sure you didn't just say that was 1. That was 5/5. So that was your fraction. Thank you for adding that part for me. For the next one, you should have made your own fraction number line. And remember, our job was to label where 1/4 would go. So by doing that, you had to make your own fraction number line by doing a number line with those arrows, by starting the number line with what number? 0, ending the number line in 1, and then how many tick marks total should I have? This is a big clue, right? Because that 4 on the bottom is the total. So I already have 1 there because of the number 1. That's a tick mark. Remember, do I count 0? Is that my second tick mark? No. So do not count 0. All right, by doing that, I'm going to start with a line in the middle, and then I'm going to split this section in half and this section in half. So that's how I make a number line with fourths, by making sure each space is equal, or at least as equal as I can make it. All right, where would 1/4 go? It should be the first tick mark, right? There would be 1/4. So that's how I would label it, with a dot, and of course labeling it with the fraction. Nice job. Remember, your learning target today is I can name a given point on a fraction number line, and you'll know you're successful when you can identify a point on a fraction number line by giving the correct numerator and denominator.